With me now is Bronwyn Williams, partner at Flux Trends. We're talking about the pet economy. I have to say that I am definitely a participant in the pet economy with 3 cats, 3 dogs. I have 10 French chickens, 15 guinea fowl, and I hate to admit, but also 2 Nigerian dwarf goats. So whatever you are going to tell us now, I am guilty.
Well, there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's definitely a growing trend across the world. So the global pet economy at the moment, that's the amount of money that pet parents spend on their little fur babies, is around about $230 billion a year, and it's projected to grow at over 6% a year for the remainder of the decade, which is quite significant considering sort of general global growth projections over the next few years. So it's growing at a higher rate than most of our economies are, and it's largely being driven particularly by younger people. And there's several sort of socio-economic reasons for this. Millennials and Gen Zs, that would be the sort of younger people, sort of 40 years and younger, are getting married later, they're having less children, and they're looking for, ways and means to bestow their affection and to hopefully get a little bit in exchange. And of course, last year, with so much of the world being put into lockdown, pet ownership increased quite dramatically too. So lonely people are looking at animals to fill various different voids in their lives, and they are lavishing not just time and attention, but also finances onto these creatures. And there's some rather extraordinary examples there.
And Bronwyn, this potentially builds on a theme that we discussed previously, and that was, of course, the hug economy, where people were manufacturing businesses out of being able to provide that connectivity in, as you say, our isolated virtual reality. But one of the examples you have alluded to is throwing pet birthday parties for the tune of, in South African rands, 2,500 rand.
Yeah, there's a company in Parkhurst that does that, and they're not the only one. There are several companies that offer this, but that's a significant chunk of change. There's many parents, particularly in our very unequal society here in South Africa, who would not even consider spending that much on an actual human child of theirs, but it just goes to show how much wealth certain strata of our society have and how much they're willing to spend on animals. I'm not sure if a dog or cat could get 2,500 rand worth of enjoyment out of a party, but this lesson still stands that there is actually a market for these things. There's even a market for things like dog beer that comes packaged like human beer and has been brewed using bone broth and various types of yeast, so that you can sort of share a cold one with your furry friend when you get home from work at the end of the day. So it's quite extraordinary how people are trying to replace having children with an experience that they can have with their pets.
Now, the impact on the climate. Talk to me about owning a pet and the correlation that, or the bearing that has on the climate that we are all desperately trying to nurture and take care of.
Yeah, so the trends involving increasing spend on our pets and increasing pet ownership and adoption are coinciding also with trends to do with sustainability and to do with lots of people across the world in the public and private sector looking at ways to reduce our carbon footprints. And there have been a couple of reports that have come out of Europe over the last couple of years that have shown that owning a dog, for example, uses as much electricity per year or has as much of a carbon footprint per year as powering an average sized home in Europe. So that's quite extraordinary. That's quite a lot of impact that our pet ownership has on the economy. And the reasons for that is because also we are purchasing more expensive and more produced and better packaged food for our pets. There's a packaging component that comes into that adds to our landfills and our sort of conspicuous consumption over there. But also most pet food does involve some form of meat. And as you do know, meat has got quite a high carbon footprint itself. So when you sort of add all the things we're buying together and our pets' diets together, we start to see that they do have an impact on our environments, not just on our emotional health.
Well, thanks for updating us on the pet economy. As always, groundbreaking when it comes to the future and trends that we need to pay very careful consideration to. Bronwyn Williams, partner at Flux Trends.